Good morning. So today we are going to do poetic device from the poem F. So this time I am going to share whiteboard, Microsoft Whiteboard, in order to teach poetic devices from F. Why I am doing this because I could have easily made a slide and make you understand the concept. But some people who are just beginners in these concepts will find it difficult to understand how we learn literary devices. So in order to make that task easy, I am giving you an opportunity to learn by writing, by doing, by giving answers. So this is all possible if I use Microsoft Whiteboard. So let's start. First one. First you tell me what a poetic device is, or why we need to include literary device or poetic device in a poem. Now, poetic device we include in a poem because it makes the poem more interesting, exciting, entertaining. Rather, people easily get attracted to the concept because you enjoy the poem mainly because of these elements that you find in poetry. So, when you read a poem is something that reaches your heart quite easily. And this is all possible because the poet makes sure that he writes poem incorporating the poetic devices so that finally when you recite a poem you get almost all the aspects covered by the poet. So readers are taken to a different world with the help of poetic devices, right? So today we are going to discuss some of the poetic devices from the poem F. Let's start with anaphora. Now what is anaphora? Anaphora is a literary device where a word or a phrase is used repeatedly to add artistic effect. So what do you do here? You insert a word or a phrase in the beginning of a line in poetry so as to attract the reader. Then we say that there we have used anaphora because we have used a word or a phrase. Now what is a phrase? Phrases are just group of words that never make any sense, right? Give up. You can write a poem on give up, starting with give up. So it's a phrase, right? So does it give any sense? It has got a different meaning altogether, but does it give any particular meaning? No. So here, when you say an example for anaphora, I given one. Learning is everything. Learning is magical. Learning is life. So take the very word learning. How many times the word is repeated here? Thrice. Learning is everything. Learning is magical. Learning is life. Why the poet has emphasized this word learning thrice? There is a reason. The poet wants to convey what is there in his mind to the reader. And in order to convey what is there in his mind, he will have to repeat this particular word thrice. So then it becomes evident. It becomes very clear to the reader that the word has an important role to play here. So you know that learning is everything. But you have to extrapolate. You have to add more. For which you say magical. Further you say life. Yes, of course, learning is life. Because a lot you can understand in the process of learning. Learning is everything. It is magical. It brings out a lot of change in a person's character. Learning itself is life. Every experience that you encounter is what make you or In fact, it is something that transforms you to a better version of yourself in life. So that teaches you how to live this life. So there again, you understand how the very word gives more meaning. So here, what is that word that is being repeated throughout? Have you noticed? In this poem if, the very word if is used repeatedly. I recite, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all went out you, but make allowance for their outing too, but if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about and don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. Take this first stanza. See how many times the word if is repeated thrice in the first stanza. Likewise, it goes for the other stanzas too. So, this if is a conditional clause. So, if is introduced to state a condition, to emphasize a condition to the reader. So, now you understand why it is important to repeat the clause if here in the sentence. Right? So, if is repeated here. So, this is an example for anaphora. Right? So, if is repeated here. So, if is here example for the poetic device anaphora. So, we have learned what anaphora is. It's a literary device where a word or phrase is used repeatedly to add artistic effect. Like learning is everything, learning is magical, and learning is life. And then what did we do? We have repeated if. And here it becomes an example for anaphora. Now, next literary device that we are going to learn here is alliteration. Alliteration is something that is very familiar for all the students in the class, right? Why it has become so familiar? Because it is easy for you to find out alliterative sounds, right? So in alliteration, you have to find repetitive consonant sounds in a line in poetry. So how are you going to identify that? Now, what is the definition for alliteration? Alliteration is a repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of successive words in a line of poetry. So what is repeated here? Consonant sounds. So we are all familiar with the vowel sounds, right? What are the vowel sounds in English? A, E, I, O, U are the vowel sounds. Other speech sounds other than the vowel sounds, you call it consonant sounds. And when a consonant sound is repeated in a line in poetry, and where it is repeated in the beginning of each word in a line of poetry. So, if you got a line from poetry that has one consonant sound being repeated in the beginning of every word, then it is an example for consonant, or it's an example for alliteration where you find the repetition of the consonant sounds. Now take for example, I'm going to give you a simple example from a rhyme, a nursery rhyme. Ba ba black sheep. You all have heard this, right? Ba ba black sheep. Right? Now, what is that sound? What is that consonant sound that is repeated throughout here? Take the letter B that represents the sound B. That is the answer. B sound in ba ba black sheep. Right? So B sound, the letter B here represent the sound B. That is example for consonants or consonant sound. So since I have made it clear, I will just underline this B sound here. So the letter here is B, right? The sound is B. So the B sound is repeated here. And where it is repeated in the beginning of each sound. So that makes it unique. Understand? So now I think we can go to some more examples and find alliteration from the poem. So here we have some speech sounds that represent consonant sounds. What are they? B, K, D, F, G, H, K, L, M, N, P, R, S, T, V, Z, Z, Ch, J, Ch, Sh, Y, Y. All these are examples for consonant sounds. These are sounds other than vowel sounds in English. So, if that is the point, can you give me some example from the poem given here? Okay, let's take the poem. Can you identify alliteration from the first stanza? Yes, if you say don't deal. Which sound is repeated here? The sound is repeated, right? The sound is repeated in don't and the is repeated in deal. Good. Now, what is the next example that you can find here? Talk to, right? Talk and to. Which is the sound repeated here? The sound is repeated. Talk to. Now take the line, treat these two. Where does it come? Take the second stanza and take this expression, treat and to. Those we can't take because for the word those, the sound is the, right? So if we take that, it's not going to be correct. What is that sound that we are required to take? Ta. So you take ta in treat, you take ta in to. So the sound that you take here is ta for the letter T. Whereas it is not applicable for though because it is tha sound. Now always go for alliterative sounds that come close together. Can you identify another example for alliteration here? Four fools. Have you seen that in the same stanza? There again, first sound is repeated, that too twice. Right? Okay. Can you easily identify one more from the poem? Man, my son. There, man, my son, ma sound is repeated. That shows example for alliteration. So I hope you have understood the concept of alliteration and how to identify consonant sounds from poetry. Remember this point in mind. It is a repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of successive words in a line of poetry. There we learned the example, ba ba black sheep. There ba sound is repeated for ba ba black, right? And then we got some examples from the poem. Don't deal. There you have the sound being repeated. Talk to. There ta sound is repeated. Treat to. Even though these or those come there, treat to. Ta sound is again repeated. Four fools. Fa sound is repeated. My man. Ma sound is repeated. So this is example for alliteration. Hope this is clear. We'll discuss the other poetic device in the next video.